Here's what investigators say happened. The gunman walked into a country music bar and threw a smoke bomb before he started shooting. Nearly 200 people were inside for a college dance event. The first responding sergeant to run inside died in a shootout with the gunman, who investigators say killed himself before other officers arrived. The gunman, 28-year-old Ian David Long, was a decorated Marine who served in Afghanistan in 2010. Deputies were called to the home he shared with his mother back in April. They say Long was irate and acting erratically, but he was cleared by mental health specialists after deputies believed he could have been suffering from PTSD.
So there's a question tonight: could post-traumatic stress syndrome explain his actions? Well, we got a tweet today from the PTSD Foundation in Houston, and it says PTSD is not to blame for premeditated murder. We must educate rather than add to the stigma of mental health. Well, tonight, Larry Siebert talks with a mental health expert about it.
Therapists say automatically connecting violence with post-traumatic stress disorder is a knee-jerk reaction. PTSD causes numbness, nightmares, flashbacks, being startled by reminders of the trauma. Getting mad can be part of that, but according to our mental health and wellness expert, Bill Prasad, automatically assuming those who get angry automatically turn violent is wrong.
The real truth is that with individuals who have post-traumatic stress disorder, in many cases, they practice avoidance. They are avoiding people and things that are reminders of what they went through.
He says it takes 30 days after the trauma to diagnose PTSD, but it is highly treatable. For more information about the diagnosis and the condition, you can go to our website, khou.com, and look on the homepage. Larry Siebert, KHOU 11 News.